What up, motherfuckers? It's the hater back again, here to entertain you motherfucks, right? The last few days have been very busy. I just moved into a new apartment. I'm finally settled in. However, I don't have internet yet, motherfucks. So I'm just recording this video on my laptop, all nice and normal. And then I'm gonna have to go downstairs to, like, you know, Smashburger or Safeway or some shit like that, maybe a Starbucks, and try to use their internet. Everything's kind of closed down, but, you know, we'll try to figure out so I can upload this some bitch. Otherwise, I'll upload it tomorrow when I get internet. Because I tried doing that Verizon self-install thing, and they're like, no, your modem ain't working. So I'm like, you can kiss my ass. And yeah, that was last night. And then today, they're closed, because they're closed on Sundays, apparently, all of a sudden, because of that coronavirus. So if you're one of the like 15 or so new subscribers that have gotten these last few days, you will get your shout out on the next video when I can actually see who the fuck subscribed, motherfuckers. You understand what I'm saying? So today, I'd like to talk about a new WWE signee, right? His name is Rob Gronkowski, right, motherfuckers? And I want to say a couple of things about Gronk, right? Because I haven't been watching, I didn't get to watch SmackDown because I was like ready to move and all that stuff. But just now on my phone, I still have phone internet cucks, you know what I'm saying? On my phone, I looked at the video, the debut of Rob Gronkowski in WWE. And he came out dancing to some goofy music, and he was dancing in a goofy manner. And the reason I looked at this video was because a lot of people had been telling me, some of my friends, some people said, check this out, etc., right? But a lot of people, motherfuckers, have been saying that Rob Gronkowski is, quote unquote, pure cringe. You understand what I'm saying? And here's the problem with that, right? In order to identify cringe, you have to kind of know what is cool first, right? Now, there's people in my life, friends of mine, some very close friends of mine, who just don't really get what's cool, right? Now, it could be that the hater doesn't get what's cool, and they're the ones that get it. But I think it's the other way around, right? I think the hater and people like the hater really do know what cool is. And a lot of people label things that are cool as cringy because they just don't understand it, right? They don't understand the motivations behind it. You understand what I'm saying? So, and even people that I vibe with very well, sometimes like we'll vibe on 95% of things, but then that 5%, like, is where we'll differ, you know, where like I think that 5% is cringy and they think my 5% is cringy. So cringiness is in the eye of the beholder. So let's analyze the video of Rob Gronkowski's debut and the dancing and decide whether it's cringy or not. All right. So Rob Gronkowski comes out to a song that to me sounded like I think it's Party Rock. Party Rock is in the house tonight. That's what it sounded like to me, right? He came out to that and he was dancing, right? He grabbed the ring post and did some like gyrations on it, which I thought was hilarious, you know? And then he got in the ring. Now, just talking about that part, right? Because that's the part that a lot of people were commenting on. They were like, oh, it was pure cringe, motherfuckers. It was pure cringe. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, no, fam, it's not pure cringe, all right? But here's why it's not cringe. I'll explain to you why it's not cringy. Rob Gronkowski, he is like that. Number one, that's how he is, right? He's this goofball, like party animal type, right? Like, that's what he is. He's like Mojo Rawley. The character of Mojo Rawley is basically like Rob Gronkowski. That's how he is, right? But the thing with Rob Gronkowski is that Rob Gronkowski is also a big motherfucker, right? So because he's a big motherfucker, right? And you expect this kind of seriousness from him because he's an elite athlete, right? He's not serious at all. He's just a guy that likes to have fun, you know? The implications are that, like, if you're this amazing athlete, you're a very serious and motivated person. You know, you're out there working out, which I'm sure he does, obviously, right? But that you take yourself seriously. And Rob doesn't take himself seriously. And I think that's the problem, right? A lot of fans now take wrestling too seriously. And if they see something that's, like, goofy, you know, they either think it's the most amazing thing in the world or they think it's cringy. Now, the question becomes, why is it not cringy to me, but cringy to them, especially in the context of the fact that a lot of smarts, they like things that are the same thing as Rob Gronkowski, right? They like love it. Like they love Orange Cassidy, who's a goofball, right? They love his ass, you know? They love the Exalted One, which is a retarded thing completely, right? They love the Fiend Bray Wyatt, another cringy, like, you know, retarded gimmick. Oh, it's a guy it's a fat man with yellow dreadlocks and a clown mask who carries around a lantern that looks like his old self. Like, that's fucking stupid, man. You know what I'm saying? Rob Gronkowski at least is a real person, you know? It feels real. Like, he comes out, he's like, hey, I'm Rob Gronkowski. I'm not the Fiend Rob Gronkowski. I'm just Rob Gronkowski, right? And he's a big motherfucker. And the fact that he's big accentuates his goofiness, right? Because it's more awkward, right? It's like a big guy trying to dance. It's already funny, right? Now, a big guy who can't dance very well and is dancing and is having fun is even funnier than that. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the charm of Gronk. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say Gronk is the next Stone Cold. Of course not, right? But Gronk is someone that is a legitimate athlete, right? WWE has a long, long history of signing like let's be honest, C-level athletes and below and presenting them as A-level athletes, right? In my opinion, the only people that have appeared on WWE and have been A-level athletes are now Gronk and Shaq, when Shaq came in that one time. And Shaq, he's just a specimen of a human. Like, he's not even he's not good at basketball fundamentals, you know what I'm saying? He's just a beast, right? So, but he's an A-level athlete, and Gronk is an A-level athlete. And then maybe Kurt Angle, right? Kurt Angle, I mean, he won the gold medal, right? With a broken freaking neck. But then you have people like Ronda Rousey, who are like C or maybe even D-level athletes, right? Like Ronda Rousey, she was like, she won like 10 or 12 fights in a row or some shit like that. She was undefeated, but that's because she was fighting complete jobbers. Like, this was like, basically Dana White was like, all right, we're going to start women's MMA, right? So they're like, all right, you 15 over there. You're now in the UFC women's division, right? Some of these girls are like 0-8. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gives a fuck? I mean, I'm just throwing out numbers, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, some of these girls aren't good at all. So like beating someone that has like a severe losing record, like, if you beat 8 of those people, then you beat 2 good ones, and then all of a sudden, you're the best fighter in the world. Like, Ronda Rousey was like, do you remember how big she was when she was big a few years ago? People were like, Ronda Rousey could knock out Mayweather. Ronda Rousey would get knocked out by Mayweather in 3 seconds. Like, Mayweather is like at least 100 times more athletic than Ronda Rousey. Because the difference between men's division and women's division is insane. And then the difference between boxing and MMA, like the athleticism needed for boxing, is insane. You understand what I'm saying? Like, in the UFC, you'll watch people, like, by the 3rd round, it's 3 5-minute rounds. By the 3rd round, they'll look up at the clock. They can barely breathe. In boxing, like, elite boxers go 12 rounds, and they're not barely tired, but they keep going. You know what I'm saying? And there's no resting in boxing. It's not like UFC where, like, I understand, like, obviously, like wrestling and jiu-jitsu is not resting, right? But there are times when you are resting on someone. When you put your weight on top of someone and you tire them out with that, you're resting. You know what I'm saying? So the levels of athleticism are insane. So everyone should be rejoicing that they signed Gronk, a legitimate athlete, right? One of the best, like, probably the best tight end of all. Now that he's retired, the best tight end of all time, easily. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think it's close. And one of the best football players of all time. Like, let's be real, right? He's a monster, man. Gronk is a beast. So having someone like Gronk is insane. Now, a lot of the comments that I saw on Reddit, Squared Circle, and Wrestling Forum were like from people that are not Americans. And they're like, well, I'm not an American, so I don't know, like, who the fuck is Gronk, right? And I'm just like, all right, that's a good point. You don't know who Gronk is, but who cares if you know or if you don't know, right? Pretend he's like a new signee. And that's when we get to the real heart of the matter here. A lot of the comments and a lot of the, he's cringy, I don't like him. A lot of this were by fanboys, by smarks who say things like I saw one comment. This made me sick. They were like, oh, this week on AEW, Matt Hardy and Brody Lee debuted. And in WWE, all we got was Gronk. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking insane? Think about what you're saying, motherfucks. Think about what you're saying. You have Luke Harper, right, who comes out there and says, "Oh, you aren't the first old man, out of touch old man to have no faith in me." Think about what that implies, motherfucks. You know what that implies? I'll tell you what that implies. That implies that if you look at Luke Harper, you automatically know that he's good, right? Because that's what Vince McMahon is going to do at first. He's going to glance at you. He's going to be like, "Oh, are you good or are you not?" Right? So the implications are that Luke fucking Harper, right? The implications are that Luke Harper is so good that if you watch him wrestle, if you just watch, right, it is self-evident that he's good, right? So, because that's the only way you can call someone out of touch, right? Out of touch would mean that, like, everyone is attuned to the fact that Luke Harper is good, except for Vince, and he's like, "Oh, I don't get it." But everyone's like, "Vince, this guy's the next John Cena," and Vince is like, "I don't get it." But that's not what's happening, motherfucks. When you see Luke Harper on TV, and trust me, I like Luke Harper. He's my favorite guy from the Wyatt family, right? But let's be honest, he's not Stone Cold, right? So if you see Luke Harper on TV, someone has to explain to you why Luke Harper is good. If you hear him talk, someone has to explain to you why he's good. And he's not. He's not really good on the mic, right? Someone has to explain to you why this guy is interesting. He's not overly like muscular. He's tall, but he's not. He's kind of lanky, right? He's kind of lanky. He looks a little weird. You know what I'm saying? Like not weird. Like actually, some people that I've watched wrestling with, they were like, "Oh, this guy's really handsome." So not weird like that, but weird in the sense of like, he has like a weird gimmick, right? He was like a weird guy his entire run. So you can't just look at him and be like, "Wow, I really get why Luke Harper is so good," right? And I'm not saying necessarily that you can look at Gronk and kind of immediately be like, "Wow, this guy's great for this reason," right? No, but you also cannot erase what he's done in the past, right? Like this idea, right? Everybody that's listening now probably knows how much I personally dislike this idea of like you have to pay your dues, right? It's like someone does it, right? Like John Cena becomes world champion and he's like, in order to be a champion, you have to go through this step and that step and that step. No, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't have to be. Nothing should be about paying your dues, right? Paying your dues is a way that you're held down, right? It's like the free internship. You know what I'm saying? People are like, "Oh, I got out of college, but I couldn't get a job. I have to get an internship." Well, you have to work for free? Well, wait a second, fuck you. Why? So one day I can work for like minimum wage? No, fuck that shit, right? I'm gonna make it on my own. I'm gonna go start a business. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna make something of myself. I'm gonna bet on myself, motherfuckers. That's the difference, right? So this idea of like you have to pay your dues, right, personally bothers me a lot. You know what I'm saying, motherfuckers? Yeah, as someone that's been accused of not paying their dues. But more importantly than that, right? It's, in my opinion, it's just wrong. It's just a wrong idea, right? It's like, why do I have to go through the same pitfalls that someone else went? You know what I'm saying? Why can't I learn from the mistakes that these people made, right? Which is what you're supposed to do in life, and then figure it out myself, right? So it's this weird idea. Like if someone's the best fighter in the world, right? If someone is number one contender and they're 22, like Mike Tyson, right? Mike Tyson, he was like 19 and he was like number one contender. You know, did anyone say, well, wait, hold on a second, because this guy's 35 and he's been paying his dues, so he gets the title shot? No, Mike Tyson gets the title shot because he's the best, right? And it's the same exact thing, you know? And furthermore, in the context of wrestling, what the fuck does paying your dues mean, right? Does it mean you've done something in the past to justify you being in WWE? Because if that's what it means, then Gronkowski has already done that, right? If it means you have to be a wrestler or you have to be a manager, then no, he hasn't done that, right? But does that even matter? Like, dude, does anyone really give a shit that Humberto Carrillo, before he wrestled in WWE, wrestled in like, whatever, Pueblo, Mexico, like some irrelevant indie promotion that no one cares about? Does that make him better than Gronk because he went and wrestled in a mask against El Gran Luchador? No, motherfucks. No one cares about that. Like, no one out there is Googling Humberto Carrillo being like, this guy was in like AAA or CMLL, where the fuck he came from, right? Nobody cares about that. All people care about is, yo, when you're introduced to me, what have you done, right? So compare Humberto Carrillo to, let's say, Pentagon Jr., right? Pentagon Jr. is more over than Humberto Carrillo. Why? It's not because they both wrestled in like triple Mexico wrestling, whatever, right? That's not it. It's because, what's his face? Pentagon Jr. was in Lucha Underground, right? So you see him in Lucha Underground, you're like, oh, this guy's pretty good. Then he starts building his resume as soon as your eyes see him, right? You're like, oh, there he is. And then, oh shit, now he's in All Elite Wrestling, right? And you're like, oh, this guy's good because you've seen him before. That's what these smarks mean by paying your dues. It's not like you worked hard. It's I've seen you do it. That's literally what it is. It's like I've watched the DVD. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of bullshit. Oh, I'm the one who ordered Triple Mania 19 and I saw Pentagon fighting Hexagon. You know what I'm saying? Like a bunch of shit like that, right? So Rob Gronkowski doesn't have to, number one, pay dues. 2, the concept of paying dues does not apply. And 3, I don't like the concept, right? Rob Gronkowski gets elevated by the fact that he's Rob Gronkowski. The end, motherfucks. The end. If tomorrow Barack Obama wanted to be a WWE wrestler, people would be like, right here, right this way, sir. You're now a WWE wrestler. You're Barack Obama, motherfucks. What, like who doesn't want to see him get power slammed? Or maybe power slam someone else, right? Who doesn't want to see this? If you're important in other ways, like Stephen Amell. Remember Stephen Amell? When he like wrestled Stardust, whatever, like Cucky Rhodes, you know, like who the fuck? That's even worse because he's not even athletic. You know, like Gronk would destroy Stephen Amell and Goldust, you know, and Stardust, and Cuck Dust, you know, all these motherfuckers. So, but even that guy, he gets elevated, and he's like a D-list actor. Like, I mean, I know some people watch that show, but I'm like, it's like on the CW. You know what I'm saying? It's not even like, it's not that big of a show. It's not like he's from Walking Dead or something, right? So that's what I'm saying, right? People get elevated. You know, you get elevated by ways other than being a wrestler because it's not a real sport, right? Even so, like LeBron James, for example, has flirted with the idea of playing college football, and he wants to play at least one snap, right? For like Ohio State, I think, right? And you know, people are like, oh, he's gonna take like the spot of a hardworking tight end because they assume he's gonna play tight end. And I'm like, dude, first of all, it's one snap, number one. Two, if he takes a spot, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck gives a shit? Yeah, you're going to lose your spot to LeBron. It's LeBron, dude. It's LeBron. Like, him playing football is going to attract millions of viewers. You playing football, no one cares. The people in your art class aren't even going to notice that you're gone. You understand what I'm saying? It's all about drawing power. And Gronk is the best tight end of all time, so therefore he gets boosted up, right? It's the same reason that when The Rock comes back, he gets injected into the main event with CM Punk. And in some ways, motherfuckers, it's the same reason why Roman Reigns goes and challenges Goldberg. It is axiomatic, right? It is self-evident that Roman Reigns deserves to be in the main event because he's had a great year in terms of like he's won like all his matches basically, right? And he's Roman Reigns. Simple as that, man. Oh, well, how is Angel Garza supposed to move up the card if people like Gronk take his spot? Well, motherfuckers, guess what? WrestleMania is 2 nights this year, right? So if you don't find your way on the card and you don't impress on the card, then what do you want me to tell you, man? What do you want me to tell you? You've had the opportunities, right? Now, if you're someone that hasn't had the opportunities like, at all, right? Then, all right, fine. There's an argument there. But presumably WWE is watching all of its wrestlers and being like, all right, this guy's getting better. This guy, you know, obviously, like they want to make money too, you know? And they realize that with Gronk, you make more money. It's as simple as that. Now, pause. Let's move on to the implications of having Gronk, right? We talked about the reasons why we should have him. We talked about why, like, the pay your dues argument is bullshit. And we talked about why the cringy argument is also bullshit. Now let's talk about what Gronk brings to the table. Now, Gronk is awesome. No doubt about it, right? Will he bring a new audience? I don't know, right? That remains to be seen. I kind of doubt it, right? Because it's WrestleMania season. But there might be people that are like, oh, I wonder what Gronk's doing for Mania. I'd like to check it out. It's going to be a few of those people, right? But what Gronk brings is actual legitimacy. This is the most important part. You know, WWE constantly tries to get legitimacy, right? If you look at someone like Brock Lesnar, there are few people that have done more for WWE than Brock Lesnar. And that's the thing. That's why he gets rewarded. Like, oh, Brock's not around to wrestle anymore. Here's what Brock did, motherfucks. He left WWE and then went to the UFC for a hobby, as a hobby, right? He's like, I think I'm going to try out this sport called MMA. And then he became world champion in that sport, right? Do you understand the prestige this gives WWE? The implications are that our guys are just as tough as these guys, right? Now, of course, anyone that knows that that's not the case, right? But if you were around when Brock Lesnar debuted in MMA, you knew that the hype was real. People were like, yo, I know wrestling's fake, and I know that Frank Mir can beat up like Kofi Kingston, obviously, but can Frank Mir beat up Brock Lesnar? I don't think so, fam. No one thought that Frank Mir would win that first one, except for me, you know, and Frank Mir won. And then afterwards, I thought he'd win again. And then Brock proved me wrong. He beat the shit out of Frank Mir. He beat the shit out of everybody. I'm just like, holy shit, Brock's legit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's legit, motherfucks. So he legitimized it. Whereas someone like CM Punk delegitimized it. He went out there, like, longest reigning WWE champ, right? He fights 2 jobbers. They beat the shit out of him. They beat him senseless, right? They beat him back to the Indies. And now CM Punk's like I saw this thing. CM Punk was like, I'd come back to wrestling if the money's right. Like, he treats it like it's like a real fight, you know? That's what people say when they do real fights. If the money's right, like, I'll fight, you know, Pacquiao. Like, get the fuck out of here when the money's right. Shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up, fake fighter. Like, I don't even know why people want to see CM Punk wrestle again. Like, as far as I'm concerned, he lost all legitimacy in those UFC fights. Like, I don't give a shit. Like I like to think that Jack Gallagher can beat up CM Punk, and he probably could. I think Jack Gallagher is like an undefeated MMA fighter. You know what I'm saying? He'd beat the shit out of CM Punk. You know, so like, I don't give a shit about CM Punk at all. You know? So there you have it, motherfuckers. The idea that wrestling needs to be legitimized. And one way to legitimize it is to have your athletes go into other sports and dominate. But this doesn't happen very often, right? Another way is the Kurt Angle way. You take an athlete that has dominated another sport, right? Specifically with Angle, he dominated amateur wrestling, which means that, like, you know, there's obviously a connection there. Gronk dominated in the NFL, one of the most dominant players in the NFL. So signing Gronk is like, yo, like, we are now signing legitimate athletes. You know what I'm saying? It's not some jobber. Like, all these jobbers now want WWE contracts. You know what I'm saying? All these people are like all these UFC jobbers, you know, or all these people are like, I want to fight Brock. You know what I'm saying? Like they want that WWE money. They want the money that comes with Brock Lesnar. You know, they don't want to fight each other for like 50 grand. They want to have like a big fight with Brock for like $1 million. You know what I'm saying? And that's why Brock Lesnar is one of the best, like, honestly, probably like the greatest, like, marketable athlete in a long time. Like, he's not ever, because you have like Michael Jordan and shit like that, but one of the best in a long time. Like, Brock Lesnar is a legit draw. And hopefully Gronk can be that same kind of draw. If Gronk gets in the ring and he like decides that he wants to take it seriously, his athleticism will have him surpass people like any kind of heavyweight type guy. He will surpass in like a day, except for maybe like Lashley or Brock Lesnar, or, you know, like the real athletes, right? He will surpass everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you Gronk versus Kevin Owens? Are you fucking lost your mind? Like, Gronk would beat Kevin Owens in anything. You know what I'm saying? He'd probably even beat him in like an eating contest. Like, Gronk he's just a superior person. He's a different level of human. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, having Gronk can only be a positive. And people are like, oh, they wasted all this money on Gronk, but my darling Cesaro can't get any airtime. Go fuck yourself. What do you think of them apples? You know what I'm saying? The fuck out of you with that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I got to say about that. Gronk, welcome to the WWE. And the fact that Gronk is such a hype motherfucker is going to be good, because WrestleMania is going to need some hyping up, motherfuckers. Now, before we sign off here up in this bitch, because I don't think I'm going to be able to make a Raw review tomorrow, because I still have to like sort some shit out. Or if I do, I won't have watched Raw probably. But I'll watch the highlights. I'll hit you guys up with the highlights probably. So anyways, but I don't think I can do it tomorrow. But anyways, another thing of a little tidbit is that AEW, what's it called? Postponed Blood and Guts. Now, it's unfortunate. Obviously, I can't blame them for it. You know, the rules are what the rules are. It's that you have to have like the 10% minimum thing. You know, I mean maximum. It's not their fault. I can't hold it against them. But what I can do is this: I can say this really does suck, because you can't really postpone a match like that, right? Like, that match like that is supposed to be like, yo, everything. It's like almost a pay-per-view. You know, it's culminating. You know, it's like, oh shit, like it's happening, motherfuckers. It's happening, cuckolds. You know, and all of a sudden they're like, oh no, like we're not gonna do it. You know, so what's gonna happen? Like now that Matt Hardy's debut happened, you know what I mean? Like, that only works if the next one is Blood and Guts. You know, if Matt Hardy Wednesday wrestles like, fuck, I don't know, Joey Janela, like, who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? That's like a Sunday night heat match, you know? So there you have it. That sucks with them, but that's been canceled. I think they're gonna have a show this Wednesday. I'm not sure, but there you have it, Cuts. And yeah, I'm gonna be making a lot of videos starting Tuesday. Tuesday's the day. Starting Tuesday, I'm gonna make a lot of videos because I'm quarantined myself. You know, I don't have that much work to do. I mean, I have some things I need to do, but like, I'm gonna be home in my new apartment all day probably. So you're gonna be seeing a lot more of the hater, and especially to all you new motherfucks that have subscribed. And I'll give you shout outs next time. You know, you've done well for yourselves, cucks. You've subscribed to the right channel. So with that in mind, I have a little bit of a sore throat, and probably the audio is not going to be very good because the acoustics of this apartment are a little weird. So I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do these videos. I might have to go elsewhere to do them. But I guess now I can just go outside, right? Like, there's no one outside. What the fucks? So anyways, yeah. With that, stay dirty up in this bitch. And don't forget to wipe your ass, wash your hands, and pay your dues. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, pay your dues, like, don't not pay your rent. Not like your dues like we're talking about earlier, you know what I'm saying? Fuck those dues, don't pay those. But pay your rent, because a lot of people are under this impression that like you don't have to pay rent anymore. If you're not paying rent, save your rent money, put it in an escrow, and keep it there. Because once this coronavirus shit ends, then the landlord is going to come by and is going to be like, yo, where's my 3 or 4 months rent, motherfucker? And if you don't have it, you're straight out of your luck. So pay your dues and your bills too. All right, fucking stay dirty up in this bitch, motherfuckers.